Hello and welcome back. There's a question I want to start with today. And it sounds simple, but the answer is actually kind of wild. What does it take for one of the oldest, most prestigious luxury fashion houses in the world to completely sell out in hours? To have its website go down because too many people are trying to buy the same item at once? To generate more media attention from a single airport appearance than most brands generate from an entire year of campaigns? The answer, apparently, is just Jimin showing up. That is not an exaggeration. That is literally what keeps happening. And today we're going to go through the full story, from the beginning, from the part that most people don't even know about, all the way to the Paris stage and the Christie's auction room and the airport moments that have turned into a phenomenon the fashion world has officially stopped trying to explain away. Because here's the thing about Dior and Jimin that most people don't fully understand. This isn't a brand that signed a famous person because his face would look good in a campaign. Dior waited for Jimin. They specifically, deliberately waited for him. And the length of that wait, and what they did during the years they were waiting, is one of the most quietly remarkable stories in recent luxury fashion history. Let's go back to 2019. BTS is in Paris on their Love Yourself, Speak Yourself World Tour. Stade de France, the first time the group has ever played that venue. And then Dior artistic director Kim Jones is creating custom outfits for the group's stage appearance. It's a collaboration but not a partnership. Dior designing for BTS, getting a front row seat to what these 7 people do on a stage, what Jimin specifically does in carefully constructed clothes, how his presence transforms a garment from something beautiful into something unforgettable. Jones watched that show. Dior watched that show. And something was filed away. What happened next is only fully understood now, years later, with the benefit of everything that has followed. Dior made a decision that most brands would never make. They declined to pursue BTS as a group ambassador, even though they had just dressed them, even though the obvious move would have been to capitalize on that collaboration immediately. They waited, because what they wanted wasn't BTS. It was Jimin, specifically, and they were willing to be patient. During those years of waiting, they did something that has since become one of the most talked about pieces of this story. In 2019, the same year they designed those tour outfits, Dior created something that connected to Jimin in a very deliberate way. The Rose Celeste bracelet, part of the Rose de Vence collection, designed by Victoire de Castellane, features a medallion that turns on its chain to reveal a mother-of-pearl moon on one side and a mother-of-pearl sun on the other, set against onyx, surrounded by diamond stars. The moon emits 7 rays, and the sun looks upon the world with a diamond eye. A moon and sun bracelet, 7 rays, from 2019, prepared and held, sitting in Dior's archives, waiting for the moment Jimin could wear it. He wore it at the Brussels concert on day 2 of the ARIRANG World Tour. And when fans connected the dots, when they realized this piece had been created in 2019, during the same period Dior first collaborated with BTS, and that it had been waiting all those years to sit on Jimin's wrist, the internet reacted the way it always does when a Jimin Dior story reveals a new layer of depth. Completely lost its mind. Because this is not how brand ambassador relationships typically work. Usually it's transactional. A brand hires a famous person, the famous person posts content, everyone benefits. What Dior has done with Jimin, the patience, the preparation, the specific crafting of a piece of jewelry with symbolic meaning and then waiting years for the right person and the right moment, is something else entirely. Something closer to the way a couture house operates with a muse than the way a marketing department operates with an influencer. And Dior itself said the quiet part loud through how they've treated this relationship. They have never required Jimin to post about them, never asked for a repost or a tag. In every instance of their collaboration, Dior has been the one doing the posting, sharing the content, creating the narrative. Because, as fans have put it, they work for Jimin, not the other way around. They even paid his membership into the BOF 500 Business of Fashion's list of the 500 most influential people in the global fashion industry. Before he was their official ambassador, before the contract existed, they liked him so much they invested in his position in the industry before they had any contractual reason to do so. He is the only idol to have achieved this, and it happened before the announcement that made everything official. January 16, 2023. Dior announces Park Jimin of BTS as their global brand ambassador for Dior Men. Within 2 days of that announcement, Dior's share price had climbed to €789, an all-time high in 31 years of the company's history on the stock exchange. Not a new product, not a runway show, an ambassador announcement. The market moved because Jimin's name was now formally attached to the brand. And then the Jimin Effect began in earnest. His first appearance at Paris Fashion Week as an official Dior ambassador created scenes that the French press was not prepared for. Paris Match, one of the most prestigious magazines in France, wrote that his arrival at the Dior show sparked an unprecedented euphoria. This is a publication that covers state visits and cultural events. They described a K-pop star arriving at a fashion show as unprecedented euphoria. And they weren't wrong. The numbers that Launch Metrics, the firm that measures media impact value for the fashion industry, released after that Paris Fashion Week were genuinely difficult to believe at first. At Dior's Spring-Summer 2026 show, Jimin's attendance generated $33.8 million in total MIV. That was the highest media impact value of any Korean idol across all 4 fashion weeks that season: Paris, Milan, London, and New York combined. His hashtag #JiminXDior was the most used hashtag by any K-pop idol across all 4 fashion weeks with 4.5 million mentions. His share of voice, meaning his portion of all online conversation about Fashion Week, was 13.46%. When he returned to Paris for the Dior Spring-Summer 2026 women's wear show in October 2025, fresh out of military service, making his first official public appearance since completing his service in June, 4.8 million mentions of his name were recorded on X within a 12-hour period. He was sitting front row alongside Anna Wintour, Jonathan Bailey from Bridgerton, Monica Barbaro. And he was the main focal point of coverage from every major outlet that was there: Women's Wear Daily, The Guardian, every fashion magazine on earth. That was October 2025. By February 2026, things had escalated further. February 2nd, 2026. Incheon International Airport. BTS departing South Korea together for the first time in years. All 7 members, officially, heading out for what was building toward the ARIRANG comeback. Already a massive global moment just from the group being at the airport together. And then people noticed what Jimin was wearing. A long coat, a black turtleneck cardigan, layered and deliberate. And on his shoulder, a Dior Normandy tote bag from the summer 2025 collection. Calfskin, priced at approximately $8,700. Airport staff were complimenting him. Someone called out, "Who dressed up the best today?" And Jimin replied, "Because I'm meeting the fans after a long time." The cameras were going non-stop. And within hours, that $8,700 Dior tote was completely sold out on Dior's official website. He dominated Google Trends simultaneously across multiple categories that night, hitting 100% search interest score not once but repeatedly, over multiple hours. For one bag, carried once, at an airport, the Jimin Effect had a new data point. June 23, 2026. Another airport appearance. Another Dior look. The media reaction was immediate. Korean outlets described him as Dior God, dazzling Jimin Prince, the fan-attracting fairy, luxury head to toe. And the same cycle repeated. Images spread, items were identified, and the Dior pieces he was wearing began showing reduced availability online before the day was out. July 31st, 2026. BTS heading to New York for the next ARIRANG World Tour dates. This time Jimin is in a black and white striped Dior sweater, blue denim, a black newsboy cap, casual, considered, effortless in that way that only happens when a person has a genuine relationship with clothes rather than just wearing them. He waves at fans. He briefly talks to media. He boards the plane. The Dior striped sweater sold out in most available sizes before the day ended. Someone posted afterward, "It happens every time." Dior knew what they were up to when they waited for Jimin for years to get him as their ambassador. And they did know. That's what makes the whole story so fascinating. Dior didn't stumble into this. They planned it. They built toward it. They created a bracelet in 2019 with 7 rays on a sun that would wait for years to sit on the right wrist. They watched Jimin on the Love Yourself tour stage and filed away what they saw. They paid his BOF 500 membership before they were contractually obligated to care about his industry standing. They waited, and then Paris happened, because everything in 2026 has been building to Paris. July 17th and 18th, 2026. Stade de France, BTS's ARIRANG World Tour European finale. The same venue where Dior first watched Jimin perform in 2019. 7 years later, 92,000 people each night, 184,000 fans across 2 shows, breaking their own record from 2019 at the same venue. And Dior dressed Jimin for every moment of both nights. For custom looks, made to order, built for this performance and nothing else. He opened the first night in a black wool jacket with notch lapels and Brandborg embroidery, a matching vest underneath, black leather pants, a black silk scarf, a black leather Dior Medallon belt. The embroidery on the jacket caught the stage lights in a way that made the whole thing seem to shift as he moved. Fashion journalists who were there kept reaching for the same word in their reviews the next day. Regal. The look was regal, like something designed for a prince who had decided to perform at a stadium in Paris rather than hold court somewhere. The second look brought lighter tones. Off-white wool knit over a white cotton tank, blue denim jeans. The kind of considered casual that looks simple and takes extraordinary skill to actually pull off. A third look featured a khaki sleeveless leather jacket over a silver lurex knitted top, navy cotton pants, the lurex catching the light with a reflective quality that shifted across the stage as he performed. And then the red Dior hoodie. For Dynamite, the moment Jimin walked out in that red hoodie, and the opening notes of Dynamite hit, 92,000 people responded in a way that people in the crowd described afterward as something different from the normal concert energy of a song they know. Something additional. The specific combination of that hoodie, that song, that person, that stage in Paris in 2026. French President Emmanuel Macron, attending with his wife Brigitte, posted a photo of Jimin in the red Dior hoodie during Dynamite on his Instagram. The sitting president of France, posting a concert photo of a K-pop star in a luxury French fashion brand, performing in Paris. Dior's global PR director Peter Utz was also there in person, watching his brand's ambassador on stage in their custom clothes, with the president of France posting content from the crowd. If you were trying to design the ideal scenario for what a luxury brand ambassador relationship should look like at its highest point, the most powerful, most visible, most culturally resonant version of what that relationship could be, you could not have constructed something better than what happened at Stade de France on those 2 nights in July. And then there's the Christie's auction, because it connects everything and it belongs in this story. On July 29, 2026, Jimin's stage-worn jersey from the FIFA World Cup final halftime show, the custom white and red piece with the number 7, worn during BTS's 11-minute performance at MetLife Stadium, the first halftime show in 96 years of World Cup history, sold at Christie's for $110,000, estimated at $3,000 to $5,000. It closed at $110,000, tying with the official FIFA World Cup final match ball as the highest-selling item in the entire charity auction. More than Messi's signed jersey, more than Madonna's glove, $110,000, for something he wore for 11 minutes. But none of this happened by accident. And none of it is separable from the Dior relationship, from the years of investment, the patience, the deliberate cultivation of an association between Jimin's presence and the highest possible tier of luxury craftsmanship. Dior's treatment of Jimin, the way they've built toward him rather than simply capitalizing on him, has elevated what it means when his name appears alongside any premium object. His jersey at Christie's wasn't just a stage piece. It was an artifact from the same year he stood on the Stade de France stage in custom Dior, in front of Emmanuel Macron, in front of 92,000 people, in front of the world. The value of everything he touches in 2026 is inseparable from what he has become. And what he has become is inseparable from the relationship that a fashion house started building in 2019 with a custom bracelet they made and waited to give to the right person at the right time. The Jimin Effect is real. It is documented. It is measurable in stock prices and sellout timestamps and Christie's hammer prices and media impact value reports and 4.8 million social media mentions in 12 hours. It exists across airport check-ins and concert stages and charity auctions and Fashion Week front rows. But underneath all the data, the reason it keeps happening is actually quite simple. Dior found someone who makes their clothes mean something to people who didn't know they cared about luxury fashion. Someone who carries a $8,700 tote and makes it feel urgent. Someone who opens a concert in a Brandberg embroidered jacket and makes 92,000 people think about craft and tailoring in the middle of the loudest room they've ever been in. Someone who wears a red hoodie and causes the president of France to reach for his phone. And they waited for him for years, because they understood that what they were looking at in 2019 was not just a famous person. It was someone genuinely rare. They were right, and the effect is still going. And if history is any indication, it is nowhere close to finished.